Hey guys! So, I was talking to my friend Rosie, and I'm gonna see if she'll give me permission and we can like maybe have some discussions since everybody's coming to visit me since I'm stuck at home forever. Um, and and I'm probably gonna be interviewing my friends and making little documentaries that you guys, I'll send you the links to later on. But basically, we were talking about, she just got into the world like the last year of like mysticism and aliens and religion and conspiracies and all that stuff, right? And so we're having really, really interesting conversations. And she was talking, and health, cleaning internally from the inside out. And she was talking about diatomaceous earth. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. I'm actually going to order it. And she had mentioned that she had a friend who had taken it and like a couple of hours later went to the bathroom and a worm came out. And I was like, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking to myself, wow, because I know we all have parasites. I've actually made this video a while ago about like how we have parasites. They live inside of us. You have to be careful not to cut the parasite off from its food source because then they start eating you. You have to make it uncomfortable for them to live in your stomach and then they'll come out naturally. So I actually started a ketogenic diet a month ago because I knew that I was going to be very sedentary after I had my knee surgery. And then the next surgery is my wrist surgery, and then I'm going to do the other knee. So I'm going to be home for about 3 months, and I just didn't want to gain weight. So I figured, everybody's been talking about this ketogenic diet. I started doing that. I order food from a company called Factor 75. I'll have a link below in case you guys want to order food from there. And I don't have time to cook, so I literally put it in the toaster oven for 6 minutes because in the microwave it's only 2 minutes. And I heat up my food. It's all wild-caught salmon, grass-fed, antibiotic-free chicken and beef. Everything, most of the dishes are delicious. Some of them are not my favorites. I'll review those later. But ever since I've been on it, because I gained 25 pounds after the accident, and then I just lost 15 in 2.5 weeks. I actually lost 20, but then I gained 5 back because I started taking carbs again. Like my friends came over to visit me and everybody wanted to drink wine or wine coolers and they all brought something and I was like, not the carbs, I can't have sugar. But they did it anyway and I did it anyway and I gained 5 pounds or whatever. But they say that most of the weight that you lose in the beginning is water weight, because what happens is when you get fat, your fat cells hold on to water and it expands. And that's really what makes the fat cell larger. So when you go on the ketogenic diet and you start burning the fat, it starts releasing the water first before the fat cell actually gets burned or actually starts to shrink. Because a lot of people, there's an argument that some people say that you have the same number of fat cells, they just get larger. And other people say that that's not true, that you actually can grow fat cells and that you can burn them too. I don't care who's right. All I know is that I just want the weight to go away forever. And I want to find a balance. But if you watch any of my other videos, you'll know that I'm a big meat lover and I love vegetables. But I'm not a big rice and carb kind of person. I tried juicing, but I felt that there was something off with it. It did work for me. It helped get rid of my allergies and it helped get rid of my chronic bronchitis, juicing. So there is something to juicing. But I just didn't think that it was okay to consume that much sugar, even if it is from fruits. Like there's just something off about that. So when I started learning about the ketogenic diet, which is very similar to the paleo diet, it's just very low carb consumption. I thought that was interesting because I've always felt that that is the proper way to eat. And that's how I grew up. We were very big meat eaters. My mom always had barbecues and it was like tons and tons of meat, and a couple of vegetables. And then I don't really remember a lot of carbs. Like maybe we had rice. I don't remember because I never ate it. I never was a big fan of rice. Like even when my mom made dinner for the family, I would be like, I don't really want a lot of rice. I would take like 1 spoon and then that was it. So I'm very happy with this diet because it's not a diet for me. It's a way of life that I can live with. The fat bombs are very interesting. So you make these little fat bombs, and they're usually like cream cheese, butter, heavy cream, and then like vanilla and sugar. So it's like little cheesecakes, which are awesome. Sometimes you can put peanut butter, you can put chocolate in there. If you want them sweet, if you want them savory, you can take cheese and mix it in. Tomato sauce, you know, and you can make like little pizza ones. You can make, I had an idea for like a mac and cheese one where you would use like cheese and melt it in with the cream cheese and the heavy cream, and then mix that together with some almond flour pasta, you know, like once it's cooked, like little elbows, and then make like a cheesecake bomb, which I mean, a mac and cheese bomb, which I thought would be awesome. So you take these little fat bombs to increase the amount of fat that you have in your body, because the more fat you consume, the more likely your body is going to say, well, I don't need to store this fat anymore. There's more than enough fat. It's time to get rid of it. And then it starts burning off the fat that you have because it no longer needs to store it. Your body stops it stops getting its energy from glucose because you're on such a low carb diet, and it starts getting its energy from ketones, which come from your liver. And the ketones, they say that it gives you more mental clarity, which I think it does. I'm getting more things done. I'm just seeing things a little bit differently than I was. There's not as much memory or brain fog. You obviously see weight loss. You feel a little bit better. I feel like my digestion is much better ever since I started the diet, but that's also because it's how I grew up. If you watch any of my other videos, you'll notice that I say, like, don't fall into these fads. Like, everybody's different. My roommate's Irish, from Ireland, and he can't have like turmeric and spices, and he doesn't like garlic. He's like, oh, you should never have garlic. And I'm like, garlic, you know, like I love garlic. Like, give me garlic, you know, roasted, raw, I don't care, I love it. But I'm from the Caribbean, and we've cooked with a lot of garlic, you know, growing up. So I feel like depending on how you were raised and the type of food that you ate, he eats a lot of cabbage. My body doesn't work very well with cabbage. Like, it just doesn't. So, I mean, I there's some dishes that I like, but I really don't like cabbage. But again, it's because that's how he grew up. He grew up in Ireland, and cabbage is a staple food there. I grew up in Dominican Republic, and we ate a lot of fried food and a lot of meat. A lot of fried food, like a lot. So I'm okay with the fat and the high fat content. And I feel like my body, even though I kind of like didn't eat that way for a while, it can easily adjust to it because it is how I generally ate the majority of my life. So for me, the ketogenic diet works. I have a couple of other friends who've had a lot of stomach issues. They went on a ketogenic diet. I love my cat. And the stomach issues disappeared. But they're Hispanic. So everybody's different. So I feel like when you are looking at a diet, you have to look at what your eating habits were when you were growing up, what your eating habits are now, and make a decision of what you want to do going forward. Reducing your soda intake always is important. I stopped drinking seltzer for a long time. I started drinking seltzer. Maybe that's why I gained the 5 pounds. But it was crazy because I had like 9, like my sister brought me a 12-pack of seltzer. I was like, and I drank like 9 of them in the first day. So, because I hadn't had seltzer in so long, and I couldn't leave the house, and I was like stuck here, you know, like my sister was my only like key to the outside world, and then my friends who came to visit. And like every time they come, they call me, they're like, do you need anything? And I'm like, yeah, I need a pound of sopressata. I need some, you know, like half a pound of Swiss cheese, like, you know, and I'm like giving my friends like this list of stuff to get for me at the supermarket because they can't go out. And it's so much cheaper when you go to the supermarket than when you actually buy it online. So it's interesting because usually people are like, do you need anything? And I'm like, no. Now I'm like, yes. Can you please pick me up? Like some heavy cream, some Kerry's like unsalted butter, Kerrygold unsalted butter, some Philadelphia cream cheese. Like, I want to make a fat bomb. We'll make them together. You know, it's just so funny. But so we were, sorry. I just like moved my knee. We were talking about diets, and I was telling my friend about that, and she was telling me about how she tried Diatomaceous earth. And I was looking it up because my other friend had mentioned it, and I was thinking about it, but then something was like, no, something seems wrong about it. Like, I feel like I was like, maybe the worms came from the earth, right? Like, you're consuming earth. And she's like, no, blah, blah, blah. But this girl argues with me about everything. Like, I'll say something, she's, no, blah, blah, blah. And then later on, she's like, oh, you were right. And I'm like, So I was debating on getting it because what she said is that the diatomaceous earth, it like suffocates the bacteria and the parasites because it dehydrates them and it basically kills them. But then it made me wonder what my friend Martin said about you want to be careful how you kill a parasite because then they'll go and burrow into you. So I'm kind of like looking into it. I want to do a little bit more research before I buy it. But I also wanted to give it to my cat because apparently all cats are born with like worms or whatever. You have to give them shots. I gave her shots and stuff, but I just wonder like if I gave her that, would worms come out? You know, makes you wonder. So, and it's supposed to be good for animals and human consumption. So I'm like, all right, well, you know, we'll see. That's basically it. I have, when it comes to diet and food, right? I stopped juicing, but I did buy like a 6-day cleanse that I have to, on Groupon, don't buy it, that I have to get before September, but I don't think I'm going to use it because, again, that's like carbs that I don't need in my body. So I might just give that to somebody who is still carb friendly. Maybe I'll give it to one of you guys, but you still have to pay $30, which is, I said, don't get it. It's like $69 for a 3-day juice cleanse. You get 6 juices every day, so it's 18 juices, which is a good deal. But then what they don't tell you is that after you buy it, you have to spend $30 in shipping. So you end up spending $100, which is still a good deal because usually juices are like $10 each. So you would get 10 and now you're getting 18, so it's like you're getting them for $5 each. But I just don't like that. I like to know everything up front before I buy something. And then Groupon wouldn't give me my money back, so I'm not talking to Groupon anymore. They gave me like a $10 credit and then whatever. So that's what's going on with that. So I closed my Groupon account and I don't want anything to do with them anymore. I don't like that. I think you should just disclose everything from the beginning. Part of it is because when I went door-to-door sales and I sold certificates, which is like where Groupon got its idea from, is the company that I went door-to-door with. They took that same concept and they put it online. And that's how Groupon first started. Anyway, so when I went door-to-door, I never did that. I was always upfront. I explained everything. I explained the rules. I explained how it worked. I explained if there were any extra fees. Like, it was all about being upfront and honest. So when I deal with people who are not upfront and honest or a little shady, or then they add stuff later on, I have a problem with that. Aside from that, that's all I have to say about the ketogenic diet and the diatomaceous earth. When I try it, I guess I can give you more feedback, but I'm a little nervous and scared. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I haven't tried the diatomaceous earth is I don't think you should feel like, I got certified in Tantra. I've always have really great intuition. I don't always listen to my intuition, and when I don't is when bad things happen. But I started learning my voice, and I started listening to my intuition. And I listen to everything that I say the first time now. I don't second guess myself. I don't, because when you second guess yourself, you're telling yourself you don't trust yourself. When you don't trust yourself, you don't feel safe. And then that causes weight gain, but that also causes your root chakra to close up. I'm going to do a whole video on chakras later. And because your root chakra is supposed to be where you feel safe, it's supposed to be your core, your base. And whenever you do anything that makes you feel unsafe or uncertain, it gets you out of balance. So I don't do that anymore. Even if a voice says something stupid in my head, like, don't do that, I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody. I can care less what other people think. I listen to myself. And that's something that I wanted to share with people because I think you should listen to yourself. Regardless of how weird that voice in your head sounds, just listen to yourself because it's your barometer for your existence, for your protection. That makes sense. So there's just something that's like, I don't know about the diatomaceous earth. I'm kind of going to hold off on that. But I do like the fact that it is a natural insect repellent. And because I grow plants, and I have a habanero plant, I have a sunflower seed plant, I have this long, I don't know, a house plant, you know, those things that grow long and it looks like ivy and then they're all over the place. And I have an aloe plant. And sometimes there are these little bugs that fly around. They're so annoying. They don't hurt anybody. They don't harm anybody. They just live off the plants. But I don't want them in the house because then if you leave fruit out which I don't do anymore. But if you have like fruit or potatoes or whatever, they start to eat that, and then that's disgusting, and I don't like that. They become like fruit flies. So what I want to do with the diatomaceous earth is put that in the soil, because they like lay eggs in the soil, and then they hatch new flies, and then they get, I mean, I don't have a lot. I maybe have like 15 or 20 in the house, but that's enough for me to like freak out, and I don't like it. So I'm using the diatomaceous earth for that. And then I'm going to get the food grade one just in case I get a little ballsy. I kind of want to try it on my cat, but if I don't try it on myself, why would I try it on my cat? Because I love her more than anything in the world right now, and I wouldn't want anything to happen to her, so I probably won't do it. But I'll see what other people say. I'm actually going to go on YouTube and watch other people's videos. But I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I believe that like there's going to be a point where the government or like pharma or like whoever does that is going to introduce something to the American population that's going to be like, oh, you have to do this, blah blah blah. Then we eat it, and it's actually going to introduce parasites to our body. It's going to introduce something that's going to affect the population and cause more problems, which is basically what diabetes and sugar is. That's man-made. By putting sugar in all of our products, it created diabetes. You know what I mean? And like promoting sugary cereals and promoting like all of these like sugary kind of like snacks and putting sugar in soda, like everything, they created diabetes. You know what I mean? And it's, if you really think about it, I'm gonna get there, so if you don't want to hear this, I suggest you change the channel right about now. Most of the diseases that have occurred in recent history have been after World War II. And a lot of people say that the Nazis had experimented, that's what they used the Jews for, is to experiment on them. And they learned that fluoride makes you docile and that you can control people and calm them down. It also like affects your pituitary gland and your pineal gland. We were very like intuitive, there was a lot of gypsies around. There were intuitive psychic people that had gifts. And when you calcify the pineal gland, you're not able to tap into your inner gift, whatever that is. I am always connected to my gift. Sometimes I'm around other energies that kind of warp me, but my intuition is always stronger than most people that I've met, other than psychics and other people in that world. So I'm lucky in that sense that I haven't lost it. Thank God. But a lot of people have. But it's also, I think, because I stick to that like meat and vegetable diet. I try not to, I went through like a sugary phase. But anyway, so the government introduced all of these things that white bread, white flour, gluten, they had done all these tests, and they've seen how it affects the population. How it affects the population. I have a cat, and she was like licking my toe, whatever. The population and the masses, and they started doing this to control us, and then they saw that it caused problems, and then they created solutions to the problems. And if you look at history and life and just anything in general, the people who create the problem usually create the solution too. So they create a problem, and then they create the solution, so they make money both ways. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of staying away from all of these things, and I have a feeling that movies are a precursor. They tell you what's going to happen. So the movies that we saw in the 80s and the 90s are coming to fruition now, where like you can open the door with your eyes. You can't do that right now, but I mean, like, just in general, like, that technology is coming. But now you can open the door with your phone. You have an ID for everything. Everything's going into cryptocurrencies. Like, if you watch some of these older movies about the future, you could just put your hand up and pay with that, or you had a card. There were wireless phones. People had little things in their ears, and they were able to communicate. And they had the Jetsons had the walking, I guess, like, like you stand on it and it kind of walks you forward, like in the airport, you stand on it and it just walks for you, and you just have to stand on it and it moves forward. They had that in the Jetsons in like the 80s, so all of those things are coming to fruition. So when I watch movies like Get Out, The Purge, The Cell by Stephen King, I believe that those things are coming and that it's a possibility. And, they create these movies so that we can decide whether or not we want to change what could be, or to influence people to go that route. Either way, it always has a cause and effect, right? So I'm trying my best to be prepared for something like that. But when it comes to a movie like The Cell, which I think is very plausible or feasible, that's basically Stephen King's movie. And basically what it is that they sent out a signal to everybody. They picked up their phone, and then all of a sudden it rewired their brains, and they kind of went crazy and started killing each other. If you think about how everything is connected, our TVs, our cell phones, cable. Now I just got smart plugs, which I love them. They're awesome. And basically it's just like a little remote control, and whatever is attached to it, you could turn it on and off with the remote control. You know, because it's a smart plug, and you can have like up to 5 or 10 devices on one remote control, which I think is awesome. Sometimes you don't want to get up to turn the light off. Sometimes you don't want to get up to turn your air conditioner on and off if you don't have a remote control. So this is a very useful tool. But all of those things, including your cell phones, are programmed to give off or emit a radiation, which is slowly subconsciously programming your brain. And when they send the signal out, that's going to give an order. And depending on how brainwashed you are, you're going to get that order, and things are going to go bat blank crazy. And that's why a lot of people, I think, are moving into the woods and getting off of the grid, because they have a feeling that, you know, something's going to happen, and those are the people that usually survive and come back and start civilization again. Aside from that, I do wonder when I see all these things being promoted if there is another agent, because I don't know if you guys saw that ad on Facebook about how in the Dasani water they had these clear worms, and they didn't know they were like little parasites, but they were clear, and they didn't know that they were in the water. I think they knew they were in the water. Like, imagine those things going in your body. Like, you don't know what they do. So imagine something inside Coca-Cola, even though Coca-Cola and Pepsi like dissolve any biological matter within days. But they are cancer causing now. Now they're coming out and saying like, yeah, we know we have cancer causing agents in our product. I think Pepsi came out first. I think. Not sure. I remember reading something. I can't remember if it was Pepsi or Coke. But they admitted it. That they have, you know, they have ingredients in their products that cause cancer. They're carcinogens, and it's kind of crazy that they knew this and they still introduced those products without, you know, warning us, because there was no law that said they had to. In California, they have a law that says you have to say if anything's a carcinogen. And it's interesting because a lot of companies make products for California that say it, and then they make a different product for the rest of the world and the United States that don't say it. And there was a website on Facebook, I don't have the link to it anymore, that people would post products with the labels that said that there were carcinogens in it. A lot of Trader Joe's products have carcinogens in them, like a lot. And that's why I don't shop at Trader Joe's. And all my friends are like, Trader Joe's. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. But not everybody listens, whatever. So that website, you would look at all the products and it would tell you what you should and shouldn't consume because they have carcinogens. At least you were educated enough to then make a decision. And that's the whole point of the Let Me School You channel. Educate yourself, not because of what I said. Educate yourself enough so that when you make a decision, it's an educated decision. And you can make the best decision for yourself and your life and your purpose and what it is that you want to achieve. And you can get on the path that you need to get on. You don't know what you don't know, but you can know because we have access to a lot of information. So 90% of the time, me and my friends hang out, like me and Rosie, and we'll say, like, oh, I heard about this. Did you hear about that? And then we get on our computers and we do a bunch of research, and then we get back to each other and we're like, this is what I found. This is what I found. And those are the type of people I hang out with now. I don't hang out with anybody who doesn't read, who doesn't research, who isn't moving forward in life. Like, I cut all those people off. And, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I guess if they came back into my life, I would hang out with them, but I wouldn't make them a major part of my life. Because I was always a nerd. I was always a nerd, like my whole life. Like I love learning and I love researching and I love information and, you know, I love pushing myself and getting to the next level. And that's why I have so many certifications and I'm constantly pushing myself to learn something new and switching careers. And I love life. I love the fact that as a woman in this time, I can, you know, in this era of life that we live in, you can do whatever you want and no one can tell you anything. And that's a gift because not more than like 40 years ago, there were limitations. Watch the movie Mad Men. The way that they treated women or the way that they looked at women, it was disgusting. So we're very lucky and privileged to be able to have access to this information. And men too. There was a lot of men that only could get certain jobs because of their education level or their familial status. Now you can educate yourself, get the information, and get a shot at that job. So it's really important to educate yourself. I do spend time with people who are not doing everything that I said that I'm looking for in friendship and partners and whatever. But I just don't spend as much time with them, because you have to be very wary of the people you spend time with, because you start to think like them. And I've grown out of this phase of like trying to be around like, well, I still want a hot guy, but you know, just like that guy that's like so alluring and attractive and chatty and he has charisma and all that. Like, no, I want a smart man that's a good man who only has eyes for me, that he can look at another woman and appreciate her beauty, but when he looks at her, he goes, you know what? She'll never make me as happy as Myra does. Like, Myra makes me laugh and she makes me happy and she's so loving and caring and like all my friends and my family love her. Like, I'm not going to find another Myra. And that's the guy that I'm going to be with. But other than that, we were talking about diatomaceous earth. We were talking about the ketogenic diet. We were talking about the conspiracy theories and how like they could release something in the food or the water. You never know. We were talking about programming and signals that can get activated later on. So just be careful with your devices. Don't become dependent on them. I think one of the reasons I left the 9-to-5 world is because I didn't want to sit and look at a computer. I literally saw my eyesight deteriorating when I worked at Uber. I was the office manager in New York City, where there was only like 10 of us that started New York City Uber. Like in the office, I was out there guerrilla marketing, trying to get drivers to come and join Uber, you know, so we can get things going, and then like making sure that they got paid on time, that they filled out all the proper paperwork, and, you know, building the business from scratch, basically, in New York. And I was working there, and like in the startup industry, you're always on your computer and you're always working, even like on the weekends. They kind of want you to just be on top of your stuff and just double check your emails. And my eyes started hurting, and I just realized that like, this is not good for you. Like, yes, you get equity and that's great. And you know, if you had equity from Uber from before, that's awesome. You know what I mean? But it's kind of like, it's just not worth losing your health. And your sensibility and state of mind. But it just wasn't for me. So one of the reasons I think I enjoyed doing the TV mounting, putting up shelves, assembling furniture, all of that handiwork is one, I've never really worked with my hands. And then I was able to do that for a couple of years, and I felt accomplished after every job. Like, I did that. I just made this home more beautiful. And then in turn, I came home and I made my home more beautiful. And I know that if I have a home with someone else, I can make that beautiful. Or I feel confident that I can build little homes for homeless people. If I can get my project going that I want to do, buy acres of land, build these little homes, put homeless people on there, have them run their own little community, you know what I mean, with like little shops and whatever, and they can like live there maybe in a barter economy, but at least they have a place to rest when it's raining and it's hot or it's cold or it's snowing. You know, I can build them with my own hands because I have tools and I know how to do all that stuff. You know, I won't be able to do the plumbing or the electricity or any of that, like, for real. But, you know, like, I can affix things, you know, to the walls. I can mount things and I can put up shelves and things like that. I can put up the cabinets and, you know, and that's something that I never imagined myself doing. But apparently the universe is taking me on a roller coaster ride through like 150 careers to make me a better person and expand my horizon, which allows me to show people through my actions that you shouldn't limit yourself. I have a website. It's called Stop Limiting Yourself. And I haven't worked on it, but now I'm going to have all this time to work on it. And it's basically me talking to people about how, if, you know, like, you can accomplish and do anything. And I'm a proven fact. Like, if you look at my life, like 26 countries, you know, and I'm still going to places, and like, there's no limits. You can do whatever you want to do. Just be responsible, buy property early. And that's something I didn't do, but I'm doing now. Make sure that you invest in yourself. Because a lot of times we live for the moment, and that's amazing. But at the end of the day, when you get old and your body stops working, you know, or God forbid you get into an accident, or God forbid something happens, that you have a place to call home. That's important. Not a place that you rent, a place that you own. Because if you need money, then you can sell it. If you need money, then you can rent it and take that rent and, you know, live off of part of it and then save the rest of it, you know, depending on where you live. Like if you invest in New York, which I would never do, you could charge a lot of money for rent, and that money could pay your mortgage in the Midwest. You know what I mean? Plus you'll have money to save for retirement. So, you know, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning about which states are landlord friendly versus tenant friendly, which ones have no state tax so that you can earn more money and keep it. Which ones have like real estate caps where you can only charge up to so much for rent and you can only charge up to so much for a home because they want you to be able to afford your housing. That's freaking awesome. Clearly New York is not like that. But I've gone on a very long journey, and that's part of the reason that I haven't been making videos. But I do look forward to sharing this knowledge with you guys. And that's basically it, because this is a 30-minute video and I gotta cut it off. Love you guys. Bye.